welcome to another Mechanical Minute. These are quick videos on random relevant topics that we all need and use. This time it's freeze frame data. Let's go. First off, what is freeze frame data? Freeze frame data is a list of information that the computer automatically records and stores when it detects a problem and a DTC is set. The list will usually include the SPN, FMI, or DTC P code itself with definition, severity of the code, number of counts for this code, engine RPMs, boost pressure, throttle position, engine temp, engine load status, and possibly more. Gas units may include PID information or list of data values to include fuel trims, loop status, open or closed, O2, NOx sensor, temp sensors, outside air temp, gear selected, actual gear, trans temp, AC status, alternator charging data, and so much more. First off, what is freeze frame data, right? This is a good spot to really quickly touch on something. Every code seems to include these, but what does SPN and FMI stand for, and what do they mean? In the medium and heavy duty truck world, the codes are different in the way they are displayed and used compared to the OBD2 standards in light duty pickups. We all know this, right? But what exactly does it mean? SPN stands for Suspected Parameter Number. This is the parameter that ECM is monitoring in a system, and there are hundreds and hundreds. They are ranging for everything in the truck from lights to solenoids to internal engine to unassigned ones. They are simply pointing at a monitored system. FMI stands for Failure Mode Indicator. This is how it sees the parameter out of spec. There are only about 30 or so of these, and they also range from failing by voltage too high, too low, out of calibration, abnormal or data error, high and low level, severe, and more. But knowing this makes things a little easier because with both these numbers, we get a pretty specific picture right away as to what the ECM saw as a possible failure and how it saw it failing. No one can remember all these, but there are decent links to online lists if you want to have quick access to some. I suggest you do that and put them in your favorites. What's the point of the freeze frame data? If we have the code, why do we need the freeze frame data, right? That's the question. Well, we have all had a unit roll in to the shop where the driver or the customer told us it's acting a certain way. And just to be able to confirm this, or the codes are in history status and not active when it got to us, or simply isn't acting up, right? You can't recreate it. While by reviewing freeze frame data, we can see what the computer saw when it did act up, it literally gives us a window to see all pertinent data from the time it saw the issue. Now, we need to have a little knowledge at this point to know what we're looking at. A giant list of data won't do much good if we can't decipher it or know when something looks off compared to what we should see, right? This is where I would suggest take a few minutes anytime you have a scan tool hooked up to a unit and look at the data stream to see what everything should look like on a unit without a fault. When you get used to what you should see, you'll be able to tell when you see something you shouldn't. Is flight recording the same as freeze frame data? The quick answer is yes and no. They are similar as they both record computer data for review later. The main difference really concentrating the data to an event versus lots of useless data from flight recording. The data displayed in freeze frame is usually DTC specific or fault specific, SPN specific, and only displayed as static instead of video, as with flight recording. Is not something an engine controller can do, and is standalone module plugged into the unit via the COM port. Flight recorder triggers can also be set to multiple situations. For example, they can be set to record the data stream when a button is pushed instead of a DTC trigger, and include information up to a set time frame before the code was detected or button was pushed. They can also be set to record when other trigger parameters are activated. So when you're moving along and feel something, you can trigger it, start recording instantly, and again, include up to like 30 or 60 seconds before the trigger. This is especially useful for scenarios that are intermittent and not easily identifiable, or only happen under specific parameters like under a load, hard acceleration, transmission in fourth gear, when it's cold, etc. So how do we get freeze frame data? Freeze frame data is usually accompanied by a company and a DTC by default, as all ECMs these days have this ability integrated. The main purpose is to see the window around the DTC event. So if the code were to become stored or history as the ECM does not detect the issue existing any longer, we can still see what was going on when the problem occurred. So if a signal is dropped out for a second, or a sense of data spikes into a range that doesn't make sense, we can all see it as static data. Depending on what you're working on, and what scan tool and software you use, the freeze frame data may be in different locations. On OBD2 scan tools, it's usually a menu option somewhere within the DTC screen. The J-Pro common to medium and heavy duty units that we use has the icon that displays if there is freeze frame data available, and it looks like this here. This little circle shows the what looks to be like a film with like one frame, a picture in one frame. That's your freeze frame data icon. You click on that, and it pops up another little window with some information in it. And that looks like this here. And just in case you couldn't read it, I typed it out. The window has some good information. In this case, it shows the following: SPN, suspected parameter number 2589, which means vehicle overspeed 2. FMI, failure mode indicator 15, which translates to high but least severe 1. And then the information it grabbed when this happened, the engine torque mode was road speed governor, boost pressure 18.28 psi, engine RPMs was 1,620.5, engine load 45%, engine temp 176 degrees, vehicle speed 77.79 miles per hour. So they were probably going down a hill and trying to slow down when it saw this overspeed condition based on that data. But anyways, it threw that in there for you to look at. So next time a unit comes in, even without an active code, before we record and clear the codes and test drive, verify if there is freeze frame data available and take a minute to look at it and see what it tells us. We may see a data parameter that is just way far out of the norm and point you in the right direction. Also, if there is more than one, compare them and see what looks off between them. Remember, step 2 of the 6-step diagnostic process is determine related symptoms. In this step, we can find the relationship between the two. We all know some codes are there because others exist, so don't overlook this information. And there you have it. And like I always say, and this is so much more pertinent to this video, if you know how something is supposed to work, you can better determine why it isn't working. This has been a Mechanical Minute. Thanks, guys.